GG's. Good game and a good result. I get 2 more points and you get that much closer to drafting Connor Bedard. Yep. Which I know another way to help you get closer to that goal of yours. I'm not trading Hurdle. Ugh. Fine. Whatever. It's not like he's the only center available this year anyway. You might find that kind of tough to do. I don't think too many teams are lining up to trade with you right now. Why? Because I'm better than everyone else? Yeah, actually. Huh. Usually people argue with me when I say that. Well, it's easy for me to say that for 2 reasons. Go on. 1, I'm not going to sniff the playoffs, so I really don't give a shit who's good and who isn't. Sad, but okay. And 2, the best team usually doesn't win the cup. Yeah. Anyway, you have a good night. Thinking about that. What the Low quality fans of a high quality Bruins team, that is another dub. Yeah. You know, I gotta say, I think that these professional athletes are pretty good at their job. At a certain point, you have to look at this group of guys and say, hey, you're really good at your job. And they are really good at their job. You know, like as a unit. A couple individuals, too. Really good at their job. I think that's nice to say. It is about 1:30 in the morning. I'm trying not to be too loud once again. This West Coast trip sucks. I work at 7 a.m. I know, on a Sunday, but I do. Life is hard. But it's a lot easier when your favorite hockey team is 31-4-4. I have run out of ways to say that this team is really good. Now, of course, we go into this game expecting to win, not only because we are the Boston Bruins, but because we are playing the San Jose Sharks, which are butt cheeks. They are 21st in goals scored, 28th in goals allowed, 19th in power play percentage, and, surprisingly, 2nd in penalty kill to us. That's kind of neat. We are going to hurt their penalty kill and improve on our own league-leading penalty kill. This is one of those teams that if they get Bedard, I'm kind of like, cool. I'm okay with the Sharks. I think that'd be kind of fun. Carlson has turned back the clock. He has 54 points in 40 games. We ended his 14-game point streak. Timo Meier and Tomas Hertl are the other great players on this team right now. Meier is rumored to get moved because he is 26 in the last year of his deal, makes $6 million this year, and is an absolute stud. Meanwhile, Hertl just signed his 8-year extension, and I want him to be a Boston Bruin so bad that I want to cry. Like, literally cry. They are 3-4-3 in their last 10, which isn't good. That also includes losses to Vancouver and Anaheim, which sounds even worse. This is a second half of a back-to-back for them, so there's your excuse. Reimer is in net because, you know, trauma is always fun to unpack as often as you can. I don't think Reimer likes playing the Bruins, and I don't think anyone wants to blame him for that. Ullmark is going to get the start in net for us. We are going to do something unique because DeBrusk is out. Rather than put Wags in, I guess, Greer went down with an illness. Rather than put Wags in, we're going to go with 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, meaning our fourth line is technically Smith, Nosek, and then we're just putting other guys on that line every now and again. And then the defenseman Zaboral is going to jump in. He gets about 6 or 7 minutes of ice time. He looks good, but in very limited shifts, so hard to actually talk about that. Hall is in for his 800th game. Good for him. Now, this game had pockets that weren't the most entertaining in the world. I think the West Coast swing tends to be hard on all of us, and I think it's harder for us to keep our attention when it's late at night and most of us are pretty tired. That being said, there were a few plays that were nutty, and none more so than directly in the beginning of the first period. Puck drops! And 103 in, looks like we're going to get scored on first, actually, as a what seemingly is a harmless shot from the point, sneaks through Ullmark, slips through the pads, and just barely goes wide. Scary moment, right? Off the ensuing face-off, Marchand is going to get it off a face-off win, and it's a solo mission. Left side of the ice, just goes down that wall, gets into the zone, absolutely crosses up Ferraro, cuts inside, goes right around him, and when Harrington comes over as well, once he gets a little closer to the goal, he does the same damn thing to him, and then backhands this low blocker. 1-0. We're just over a minute into the game. We just saw Marchand absolutely dunk on that team. If you had no doubt about losing beforehand, you saw that one. Well, Marchand's back, and he's pissed. There's nothing you could do. 2:42 in, Pasta is going to go for a high-sticking penalty kill. I know it seems silly because we're not even 3 minutes into the game, but like you start strong like that and then immediately take a penalty, it's a little frustrating thing. It's a great penalty kill, though. 5:33 in, it's more good news. Coyle down the left wall, gets the puck punched away from him. Foligno's right behind, on time. All the little stuff that Foligno's doing well, it's such a joy. I just assumed he would be a black hole this year. I know we're midway through the season, and it hasn't been that way at all, but you still just got to feel good about it. Foligno is going to find Smith, who's not alone in the slot, but not really covered either. Rifle him a pass. Smith collects and absolutely buries this on Reimer. It's 2-0. We're not even 6 minutes in. Now remember, this is the year of the comeback, so you can't get too high on yourself after a 2-goal lead. And you know what happens? One good bounce. Minute and a half later, they're just in our zone. They're barely getting any time in our zone, but they get in there. And Barabanov comes into the zone, hard stop. And on that wall, Carlo gets a little bit of distance from him just because he stopped so quick. And he just flings this into the slot. And off Kucher's foot and in. Like off the skate, boom, 2-1. Lucky bounce. And that's kind of the stuff that it takes to beat Ullmark these days. So it's going to be 2-1. We're about 7 minutes into the game. The shots are 3-4 or 4-3 in favor of the Sharks. And there's been 3 goals scored. Not exactly a goalie exhibition to start the game. Less than a minute later, Sharks hammering at Ullmark's pads, celebrate a goal because the puck went in, but the ref runs over, waves it off. It was clearly a spear that got the pad moved to actually get the puck in. So it's going to stay 2-1. That's the final score of the first period. Second period's a lot more concerning. We do start it with a Pasta breakaway. Defenseman draped all over him. He can't get a real chance off. Like he kind of goes wide. Then immediately gets another one-on-one chance with Reimer and again goes wide. Pasta really should have had a hat trick on this one. But midway through the second, we get pinned into our zone for about 4 minutes of play time with 2 icings. After the second icing, Foligno is on the bench. Not Foligno. Forbort's on the bench. Ref believes it's intentional because normally you wouldn't call a delay of game penalty here. You would go over to the bench and be like, that guy needs to be on the ice. But I never saw them actually go over and do that. Instead, I believe, to the ref's discretion, that was an intentional move to give them rest. Delay of game, penalty called, and it's an excellent kill. 7:20 left. Carlo for slashing. An excellent kill. The penalty kill was so good. And yes, the Sharks' power play isn't great, but still, I want to give credit where credit is due. But shortly after that kill, there's 5:05 left. Harmless shot from the right point. We've just given the Sharks way too much time in our zone this period in general. It goes off Lindholm's back over Ullmark and still snakes under the bar just a little bit. 2-2. Carlo overshoots Lindholm on a wraparound that should have led to a clear. So there's obviously like turnover issues there. That was one of 12 turnovers in the past 8 minutes, so I'm not really trying to get on Carlo too much for that one. This was just a ton of time and a ton of mistakes by a lot of people that led to this amount of time in our zone. 4:11 left of the period. Benning is going to go for holding. Foligno and Gadjikov are also going to go for just roughing, I guess. They almost fought. This power play was well executed. It was a lot of puck retrievals. A lot of time in the offensive zone. It's going to result in Marchand with time and patience in that right circle. He's getting there. Everyone sees him as a threat. Everyone kind of moves in on him. He's handling right there. Pasta had already kind of circled down to the low bumper, like back door to Reimer. And as soon as everyone's real focused on Marchand, he just glides his way back up to the left circle, his office. Marchand with a clean pass directly to him. He settles it, takes one stride deeper into the slot, wrist shot. This is as accurate comes. Sniper Rooney and cheese! High blocker. That's going to be 3-2 on a power play goal. 36 seconds left. Harrington is going to go for interference. We're going to start the third period with $1:24 of power play time. And it looks like we're just not making it happen this time. Can't really settle the puck into the zone. Can't get set up. But with 9 seconds left in the power play, we do get into the zone. We dish it back to Lindholm on the point. He hammers this on net. It's off the back of a defender, just like it was off the back of Lindholm for their second. And it's 4-2 into the net. They challenge it for offsides. Foligno was half a fucking inch offsides in this entrance. The rules are the rules. I'm not looking for the Bruins just to get special treatment. I just hate that rule. I hate that, like the half an inch, come on. If it's that close, like what are we doing? Anyway, so the goal's waived, stays 3-2. Some scary moments after that, but the defense and Olmark just do their job. I thought the Sharks made a real push, and Olmark did a really solid job. He ends the game with, I think, 28 saves on 30 shots, a .933 save percentage, which is below. That's worse than his average numbers this year. A .933, which I believe would still lead the league. Ugh, just an embarrassment of riches. 11 minutes left. A reminder of how good the production line can be. It's Pasternak behind Reimer's net. He wins a board battle. Marchand there in support. Puck is squirted out to Marchand. He then finds Bergeron, who's in that, bumper slot position. Great pass to him. And then he flings it over to Pasta, who then circled around to the low portion of that left circle. And Pasta settles, fires his pass at diving Reimer. That's his second goal of the night. And that's going to be your 4-2 final score. In the last minute and a half, an empty net. Marchand has a free empty net goal. And I mean free. He's at the point. There's no one between him and the goal. He can throw it in. But he waits and forces it to Pasta, who's unable to finish the play because he's got 3 guys draped over him. I love how unselfish this is. It is like, hey, you're risking the win here. Get the goal. But it's regular season. There's a little bit of that. That's good for camaraderie. I really do kind of appreciate those moments. Game notes. Bergeron, now third in franchise points, which is awesome. He has 1,014. He's behind Bork and Busick, which is just a fun little stat. He's never going to catch Bork, ever. But, hey, that's still pretty damn good for a franchise that's been going for well over 100 years. We have collected 4 out of 4 points on the Western Swing so far. Ducks tomorrow at 8:30. I would love to see us win that one too, but this is already a successful road trip. We're going to have a letdown game eventually here, like a real letdown game. The Kings were obviously the biggest competitor out of this West Coast swing, but the Ducks have actually been a little feisty in moments. They take a lot of games to overtime, so they're interesting, at least. We did see a little bit of the Hall Krejci Pasta line, which I've been calling for, and they got absolutely smoked in chances, which was interesting. I still think I want to see a little more of it because it's been a while since they've been back together, but I thought that was kind of funny considering how often I've said I wanted to see that. Lastly, something I've kind of noticed, the Lindholm-Carlo pair, I think, has been outperforming the Grizz-McAvoy pair, which isn't like, hey, the Grizz-McAvoy pair's been bad, but Lindholm's just been really, really good this year. He's been our best defender this year, and I just didn't see that coming. I think McAvoy, honestly, is still working his way back into things. I know that seems kind of weird. He's been great. I haven't seen him take over shifts like he used to, so still kind of waiting for that to happen. Other than that, the team keeps rolling. 31-4-4. There's no reason to feel upset about anything tonight. It was a pretty decent effort outside of that 6-minute span where you go, that ain't great. Other than that, pretty happy with what we put together. So that does it for me. I'll see you tomorrow night. It's about 2 in the morning now. I got to edit. I got to do a skit. Shit, man. I don't know if skit's happening tonight because I need some rest so that I can survive tomorrow because, of course, I work Monday too. These are the challenging days. Go Bees!